With me today is Kim Davidson, President and CEO of SideFX Software. SideFX is responsible for Houdini. That's the name of your software, right?
Correct.
A leading 3D animation and visual effects software used in film, commercials, and notably video games. So everything, basically. So welcome, Kim.
Oh, great to be here, Jim.
How you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm normally got some notes, but you said just sit back and relax. So this is Kim unplugged.
Unplugged. It's all it's all in your head. I know it is. So nothing's that.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
I figure I invited you here to talk about the hot topic du jour.
Sure.
That's French. Artificial intelligence, the metaverse, and whatever else comes up. I figured you're uniquely qualified to talk about this, as you've been involved in the development of software that's been used for years in Hollywood movies.
Sure.
You can jump in and correct me anytime you want. Creating computer-generated worlds. In fact, you've won Oscars and at least one Emmy. So how many times have you been recognized by the Academy?
I've personally been recognized 3 times. Our company has been recognized 5 times when you count a couple more times on top of that.
So, and Emmy, at least one Emmy, right?
One technical Emmy.
So just one Emmy then.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I know.
All right, so
we got to speed things up.
I did win an award once.
Okay.
Well, I brought it. So actually, this is not for this. I brought this award. And this is for, I'm in the Hall of Fame of the Film and Video League in Toronto. I don't know if you can top that.
Well, I brought an award too, Jim, but I don't know. This is just
probably not as good as
mine. I
I
kind of keep it under wraps a little bit.
Goodness.
But,
so you do, oh my goodness. So you just carry that around with you?
It's just a little
just
bit.
To prove, because no one believes it,
But
right?
you do the right perspective thing here, Jim. We can do a forced perspective. Yours is a little bigger.
It's probably a little out of focus, but
yeah. Well, I can hold it nice.
Move it right to the corner there. That's
where do you
one
want
shot.
Where do you want them? Facing you, facing me, and doing the rotation thing there. How's
boy,
that?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? I'm
A
gonna
little
just make sure we
go off.
This. Where is it when you have it? Do you have it at home, or is this from the office? Or
can I pass this to you? Because it's very,
I don't
very heavy.
I'll break it. It's heavy. I've heard it's
right on camera, right? We'll just break it.
You know what? I'll touch it after.
Okay,
anyway, let me ask you a couple questions about that.
Sure.
First we're gonna play a game I like to call Sophie's Choice. Sophie's Choice. Okay.
I like games.
Which would you rather win? An Emmy or a Stanley Cup?
I think I'd rather win an Emmy, truly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Which would you rather win, an Oscar or a Larry O'Brien trophy?
Oh, see, I'm not. I love sports, but it's like
you go to all the games.
I know,
but you're not a fan.
I know. I'm a huge sports fan.
I'm a huge sports fan, but you go to more games.
But I'm not the player, so it's like, how am I winning that, and what am I going to do with that?
When I was thinking up questions to ask you about, I tried to remember my own experience as a fan of movies, okay, and computer animation in particular,
right?
Because that's your area of expertise. And then I saw a recent interview where you mentioned the same 2 movies I was thinking about.
Okay.
So I figured I was onto something here. So a couple of watershed moments for me.
Right.
Terminator 2. I remember the oohing and awing coming from the audience as Patrick Wilson walked through the prison bars. I also remember seeing the trailer for the original Jurassic Park. And it seemed like real dinosaurs were on the screen, right? Now, it's not your work. I understand that, but you were in the industry at the time, right?
Yes.
What was your reaction at the time? Like, damn, they beat us. Was this like the space race back in the day?
Well, when you're in the business, you actually see all this stuff coming. It's like Jurassic Park's the one where, and Terminator 2 is the one where you, Jim, and the rest of the populace says, oh, wow, what, this computers can do this, but we were doing that and it was being done years before. And so it's not as novel to us. It's always nice that it's getting recognition by the broader audience, but we always knew this was possible. It was just a matter of time. In fact, with the Terminator 2, I often say, Omnibus, where a company I worked at in 1985 and 86, worked on Flight of the Navigator, and Flight of the Navigator had a chrome spaceship, and it morphed and it reflected the environment, and it was computer graphics and it was generated. So that was Terminator 2, like 3 or 4 years
So
before.
3-4 years. So you saw exactly the same
The trick,
animation.
yeah.
The trick
Of course, that was a character that morphed. Now we have a human being, but there's a few less frames in that one, and so it's. Yeah, we can do that, and the computers were getting faster, memory was getting cheaper. All that stuff was coming, so it's really cool that it was. But those were you nailed it. Those were 2 breakout movies.
So, I mean, Houdini is the name of the software. It's used by VFX companies such as Walt Disney Animation Studios, Pixar, DreamWorks, ILM, Sony, many, many more. For instance, one of the watershed moments for you, I guess, in 2003, 5 of the 7 movies vying for the Oscar nominations used extensive use of Houdini. Am I reading like right out of your promotional material, right? So, I mean, you've done. So it's the animators use your software,
Correct.
but different animators could work on the same film potentially, I guess, right? So
Yeah, it's like you were if I sold you 3D, if I sold you software to write like Microsoft Word, everyone can be using Microsoft Word. In fact, a whole lot of people can be working on the script with Microsoft Word. That's not what they use for script writing, but you get the idea that we sell this software to a company, and there could be 22 animators at that company and 102 at the other company, and they might use some other competitive software. And they might work on just some of the shots, and another company might work on some other shots. So it's really, really been growing. And that was probably an early year because we were in Houdini was used in no movies. Then it was like 1 movie. And I used to track 2 movies, 5 movies, 6 movies. And then some of them are up for the Academy Award. I think the very first one that won the Academy Award was it was Independence Day. That was one that we used a lot of our software and was one of the first.
So some from 2003, some of the movies that are mentioned here, and correct me, like Harry Potter, several of the Spider-Man movies, right? Men in Black series, Black Panther story, Toy Story 4, Fate of the Furious, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I mean, the technology's advanced so far, right? Now, sometimes you can tell it's not real when you're watching a show, right? Like, for instance, on Game of Thrones, I'm watching Game of Thrones, and I figure, okay, they probably didn't hire 10,000 actors to be in the army that they're wiping out.
Yeah, and training dragons is really tough.
It's tough. Well, the dragons are
they're real, right?
They're real, but oftentimes things seem really real. Like you can't tell what you're watching is animated. Sometimes they just replace the horizon behind the actors or whatever. It's fairly routine, right? That kind
Absolutely. Why would you want to build all that set and props and landscape and get rid of that telephone pole? You want to get rid of all that, and you want to put in whatever you would have built.
So a lot of things are just done on a set with huge, massive green screen things, and
not even green screen for far level shots, because in the end, it's what they call rotoscoping. You just can take out some of that background and then layer over. I'm sure, it's like you put titles over the top front of this thing. It's the same kind of idea, just layering video on top of, or film on top of film.
So I figure that kind of brings us up to the present in a sense. And because there's a lot of talk about virtual worlds, in computer animations, but it's affecting business, and it brings us really to this talk of the metaverse.
Yes,
right, which I don't know a lot about, but there's a lot of hype about the metaverse. I mean, Facebook even kind of reorganized their company to call their parent company Meta, right? So they presumably have made a huge bet on this idea of a metaverse and to millions of dollars anyway.
Correct.
So in layman's term, what is the metaverse from your point of view? Building virtual worlds, or?
Well, the metaverse is a place where you and I can do this, have a sit down and talk, but we don't leave our house. So we can interact in a social or a gaming world, but more like a social thing. We can also, if you combine it with what's also called Web3, where you can like buy things. So I could go in, I could participate, I could build things, I could move things around on this table, but it's all virtual. We're just living in this world. A lot of people think you need to have the VR glasses too. I'm not really explaining, I'm explaining what it's not, but it's the fact is you can actually participate and live in a much more virtual way than you're doing today. And some people would say it's here today. If you've ever been familiar with Roblox or Minecraft, those kind of things where kids, they're living in that social three-dimensional world. So it's really a three-dimensional, participating world, multi-user, multi-participant.
So,
world.
and you've been at the table for some of these discussions, like you're involved as a software company, right?
Yeah.
So how would you be involved in these discussions? Like people coming to you for ideas, or can you please develop this as part of your software, or how does that work?
Well, our software is kind of naturally building worlds all the time. People are all using it. They're just not using it in the metaverse, in a meta, world. Right. But some games are getting there as well. Like if you're familiar with, some of the games where people come in and all play at the same time, the multi-user games. So a lot of those worlds are built, but not changing, but are built in with our software, with Houdini software. So in a sense, we're aware of all the uses, or a lot of the uses of the software, not evolved. But they also say, do you want to change the software? Can you get on a panel, or can you be part of this consortium, or things like that? And it's not always me, obviously. We have over 150 people at SideFX, and many of them smarter than I am. I mean, here I am, sitting with you, Jim, and the rest of them are meanwhile, splitting the fourth dimension.
You're out there marketing,
something like that.
Yeah, you can write this off as a marketing expense.
Well, we'll point our websites to your.
Well, so I was at this presentation the other day, and it was with, I think, a guy from Sony and a guy from, I don't know, Dreamscape or something. There's so many dreamy names. Right. And they, they're top execs. So they have a way of just sort of simplifying everything. But one of the guys said, well, because I saw virtual reality years ago, and, wearing goggles.
Exactly.
At a trade show. And I said, okay, I'm in a classroom in Sweden. Cool, I guess. Right. I'm kind of there if I'm moving my head around and stuff. But he said the moment it all changed was when people started collaborating online, I guess. Or it's like you're saying, so if the gamers, they're playing with their friends. Like you always hear about all these gamer guys playing all night, and they're interacting, they're playing with and against people from anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, and there's avatars of those people of each other in that space as well. So it's much more dynamic that way when you think about it. And it's not just them interacting with each other, but they can actually move, if they're building something for the educational situation. If I can show you how to put that piece, fix your toilet, and talk to you at the same time, or, show you how the software works or how they did this effect. We're in the same space and we're interacting. So I think that's really what's important, is to have the other people in the space, and then have the space as dynamic as well as the real world is.
So, I mean, during the pandemic, the dirty word, the pandemic, people, were using, suddenly Zoom was a huge thing. QR codes came back in a huge way. But how do you see the metaverse maybe invading the normal work world as well? Like you talked about, we could kind of be in not physically, but feel like we're in the same space as a colleague, I suppose. Right. As opposed to maybe the way Zoom did it and Microsoft Teams and all that with the little squares in the box. Is that we'd feel like we're in the same office room together? Or?
Yeah, but why? That ultimately, why? What industry are you in, and you need some alone time, or do you need to, do you and I need to be working to get to see each other, to actually see each other in 3D to do this?
I guess you could be my client and or customer who happens to live in Sweden or something, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's the only way we...
Right.
But it does seem like overkill. I mean, maybe the screen's not... Well, the telephone would have been fine. But people liked, apparently, to...
Well, apparently some people turn off their video too.
Well, when FaceTime started, I tried it out right away. And then, I get it, but I never really I never really used it much.
Right.
Really. So,
And you and I were talking earlier, like if I can see you in high def 3D, like maybe that's not what
yes.
you want. Maybe that you'd rather just have a, just a bit of an expression. I don't
Yes.
need to see that you're in your, underwear.
But the technology is there, right?
yeah.
The technology, because the gamers like to interact with someone in real time without any lag. So the internet needs to be extremely fast, and
Right.
everyone loves high quality graphics.
Yeah.
So the bandwidth is large to get these huge graphics through. So
Well, yes and no. I mean, it is when you prepare a game like that, you spend a couple years to make those games.
right.
So that's the part of it, right? Because those games have to play in real time and look really, really good. So there's a lot of what they call, like baking down all the textures, all the materials to make it run in real time. That's the gameplay, and the character has to be, the avatar has to be played. It's not the actual, all the data in the cloud of the person. So yes, we still are getting faster and faster, but these guys still have a lot of equipment. You see the boxes that they play with today,
Yes.
and
the big
head
chairs and everything.
look at the equipment you have over here. So it's not.
I'm impressed by the $2,000 chairs. Like,
I
they're
know.
beautiful. I want one of those.
And that's not actually in the 3D world. That's just in the real world, right?
Yes. Well, that's the problem. I'm still in the real world.
And what about these chairs? Are pretty sexy.
Well, these are leftover from my parents, and I've recycled them. So
Okay.
I spare no expense researching this show. So this interview. So I just got back from NAB in Las Vegas. It's a huge trade show. With
just for you.
Okay. So I'm
Right.
writing the flight off.
National Association of Broadcasters.
Yes.
Las Vegas had no appeal whatsoever.
No.
No, all research.
I like going to Las Vegas because it's all about the convention that you're going to, and it's like, anyway, that's like,
okay.
You can get distracted by other things. Like, I'm a sports fan, so there's like the rooms where all the games are on simultaneously.
That's cool.
At NAB,
yes,
in Las Vegas, you usually get a hint at what some of the new trends are, right? And a lot of it's marketing. A lot of the companies are trying to attach themselves to artificial intelligence. That's the buzzword du jour, as I said earlier, of the day.
Right.
Interestingly, though, no talk of the metaverse at all. So I might have heard it once. So what happened to the metaverse? Is it dead?
Right. Well, so out with the metaverse, in
with artificial intelligence,
in with AI, which is really in many cases not AI at all. By the way, it's what I'll call machine learning. But you're familiar with the Gartner hype cycle.
Yes.
So remember, there was this thing called internet, and then there was big data, and then there was VR and AR and XR, and so their hype doesn't mean that it's not real. AI is real. It's here. It's
the hype cycle, right?
But the hype is always a little more than the actuality, and I think that's why you throw the metaverse out, because the hype is already being replaced. Hype's getting replaced at faster and faster.
So they'll change the name or something, or it'll sneak in on a
so
slower...
metaverse. Yeah, well, metaverse is still going on. I mean, people are still developing Web 3.0 and the metaverse and those things, and all the laws that have to go along with some of those technologies. But you're not seeing it at NAB because this is all about the next
thing,
the hype that's current, and the hype that's current is ChatGPT, AI.
6 months. It hit the
ChatGPT, AI.
mainstream about 6 months ago. Right?
Yeah.
So did the folks at Facebook miscalculate? Were they wrong in making they made a huge play, right? They changed the name of their company.
No, the metaverse is here and it's growing.
Right.
It is a real thing. When the internet first came out, it was like, oh, well, this is just a fad. This is a fad and it'll go. And then people just sort of forgot about it. And then all of a sudden someone puts a front end on it, and it's like, we all watched the hamster dance, and then we kind of forgot about it, but didn't make it stop.
Right.
It just meant you didn't pay attention, or
it's in the background.
Average person didn't. And so the metaverse is still, or whatever we want to call this, next generation of online. We'll call it meta because that's what was coined. It's still going. People are still building immersive environments that we can all participate in.
Yeah. I guess it's like what you're saying about the animation for T2. It was You saw it because it was happening for 3, 4, 5 years.
before.
So
And
it got realized at that moment, but you had
for
seen the development of
for the
that particular
masses, yeah,
trick
yeah.
for a few years. So
And if you watch what happened after Jurassic Park, it's like the price had already come to a point where it could actually make money at the box office and pay, but you just saw a whole lot of directors go, like Jim Cameron was, in a sense, is,
now I can
way
do
ahead
it.
of the curve, right? But all of a sudden everyone else goes, oh, all the directors go, I got to do that. I got to put, the producers are going, how do we get that into our next movie? Not dinosaurs, but computer. What can we do? Can we blow something up?
Well, there's a documentary on Netflix right now talking about Jurassic Park in particular, and then what's that animator's name? The famous
Steve Spaz Williams.
That's the guy.
Yes.
So he's like defying his boss by secretly working on whatever you would call it.
Yeah,
like,
he and Mark DePay were in the cave.
So that was meanwhile, but they're also hiring and paying people to make real life models.
The Phil Tippett, yeah.
So yeah, that's right.
And
So he is in it. So it was sort of
Stan Winston,
they're doing the
Phil
real
Tippett.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then they have this breakthrough on the animation side, and then they basically decide to do
So
go in that direction.
So
right?
speaking of seeing that coming, it's like at Omnibus, which was several years before that, 5 or 6 years before that, where I was working, we were working on walking and talking characters, and then and when is real characters going to be something, and then right after Omnibus went under in '87, I started a company, and I worked with Steve because he had come out of Sheridan, so Steve actually worked in Toronto before going to ILM. So like, I know who the guy is. I know what he's capable of doing. I know what Mark DePay. I knew, I went to ILM to visit, and I met several of the people that worked there. Those are two of them. And obviously that was a little moment in time that they were in the right talent in the right place in the right time.
So someone just
but it was all possible. It's just they happened to be
someone insubordinate enough just to do it.
I'm not taking away from their talent.
Yes.
Like I'm in some ways a benefactor of being in the right time and the right place, and ending up with an Oscar for being in the right place.
So at NAB, I saw a couple of very introductory type presentations about AI, right? Because everyone's interested in it, and the moderator kind of divided AI into 3 categories: just text, images, and video. And then he would poll the audience, like, what are you working on? And like, what software are you using? Because there are things popping up, for each. All the while, he's conceding that AI is just now entering the mainstream. We're 6 months. I mean, everyone's heard of ChatGPT, but 6 months, it was 6 months ago only that it really started getting a lot of attention. So now you've called AI machine learning today and elsewhere. What's your definition of machine learning then? Because it actually makes it more clear to me.
Right. So what machine learning is, you take a lot of data, and whether those are images or whether they're weather reports over a number of years, and you just scrub all that data and you look for trends. And then it's like, okay, I see the trends, and you try to fit those trends. So it's like, I want to see, I have all this information. I've scrubbed this trends, and I want to see an image. I want to see images that look like squirrels. And so you have this feedback loop. And if it doesn't look like a squirrel, you throw it out, and it's training itself. So this is a machine training itself to figure out what a squirrel looks like. Yeah. Because you have all these different pictures that are named squirrel, and then it can find squirrels anywhere in any picture, because it's been doing this so millions and billions of times. That's machines learning how to do certain types of tasks or certain types of recognition. So then we think, this is crazy. I can say, hey, get me a picture of a squirrel, and it comes up with a picture of a squirrel, or is a squirrel in this picture, yes or no? And it does it, and you say, hey, that's AI. And I say, okay, it's not that much intelligence. I mean, I like real intelligence. This to me is not real intelligence. It's intelligent people training machines to train themselves.
Yes.
So I sound a little jaded, but I'm not
No,
But I think there's just a little, I guess I'm a little anti-hype, Jim. That's
no,
the
that's
main
why
thing.
you're here.
Yeah.
I want the truth.
Yeah.
Jim, the truth. You're here to tell me the truth.
Just to settle down a little of the hype
So, well,
on this show.
so text, images, and video. So
Yep.
ChatGPT and other
Text,
programs that are come out, they can, write your article or your essay or your menu or lay out your event plan, whatever you can think of. That's
Yeah.
text. Everyone kind of knows about that now. With images, you can put together a PowerPoint presentation very quickly, or create artistic representation of people of things. So I can say, combine what if Abraham Lincoln and Kim Davidson had a baby, what would it look like? And the image will come out, probably Kim with a beard, but that kind of thing I've seen, like creating art. With video, you can also write essentially an essay, or you can say into certain software, tell me about poverty in New York.
Right.
And then it'll go out and seek essentially stock images and put the story together. And it'll, again, like ChatGPT, there might be some errors, but it'll be pretty good. And if there's a weird image, you can fix it.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Human intervention.
so that's sort of where AI is right now, just for the normal folks. Here's a quote from the New York Times. If AI chatbots can seem eerily human, that's only because they have learned how to sound like us from huge amounts of text on the internet. Everything from food blogs to old Facebook posts to Wikipedia entries. They're really good mimics, experts say, but ones without feelings. So will that change as we continue to interact with it? Do you think, like, can we teach the squirrel how to feel?
Well, yeah.
Be more human?
No, I get it. Can you fall in love with a someone online that keeps coming back and giving you sort of real feeling? And there has been some case studies of that happening until they decide that it's gone a little too far. People abusing these machines get run away, and the things people are starting to get asked pornographic questions and things like that, so they take the thing down. So I think
that's actually an interesting point, because they do with ChatGPT, they do not allow, there's a filter in there where they filter, they won't allow you to do any hate speech or anything negative, or as you say, porn, but that's an interesting point, because, well, who's the arbiter? Who's deciding where that filter, or what the filter is? So there's a human somewhere decided no hate speech. No, what is hate speech, right?
Yeah.
So there's a human somewhere with a lot of power.
Yeah,
I would think.
Well, the programmer who put this thing together, or programmers who put it together, I mean, it's a runaway train in a sense. They have a black box, and they decide, let's scrub these public websites. Oh, by the way, it scrubs some private websites, but they don't. That was a mistake. No one knows. It's a black box, and so legal cases are just starting to get their head around what's copyright,
right?
Who controls it? Who owns it?
Did
it only scrub stuff? Can we prove that
you could ask it to write music? Write me a #1 song in the style of the Beatles.
Right.
Who owns the copyright? Who owns that copyright?
Who created that program to do that? And is it only
But you were a mathematician at the beginning. A lot of music is just math, right? So it's like the sequence of certain notes and chords please us,
right?
And the computer can be taught, like, certain chord progressions and music are heard over and over and over again, and you can get a #1 hit out of that, and the computer can spit out in theory a #1 song, right? But who owns the copyright? You're right, though.
Right, because it didn't just do it probably on theory. It probably learned it by stealing from. Right now, it steals it and borrows from a whole lot of different phrasing and framing and sounds.
The Beatles stole
that
from
sort of thing.
Beethoven.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they were influenced by Chuck Berry, or
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
Gene Vincent or whoever.
It's a lot of fun. I love to play devil's advocate on a lot of these things too. Not because I'm a naysayer. I'm actually like, it's the way you learn. It's the way human test things. It's like, what's wrong with this picture? is this a real person? What's the, you train yourself to, to sort of figure out what's really going on here. And is this art? Like you said, you called it creates art. And I'd say, I don't know if that's art at all. Like who's the arbiter of when, even if, forget the copyright thing, it's a lot of stuff I see is like a toy, a play. It's
Right.
like, it's not exactly what I would call art. It's a fun thing that people, love to goof around with and say, look what came out, I got out of this. But if it's just going to get it wrong all the time, what are we got to think that this thing is going to we got to have our antenna up, I think, more than normal. Did you see the article, by the way, in the Globe the other day where the writer went to ChatGPT and said, hey, tell me about this guy, and it was the actual writer, something he knows a lot about.
Right.
And apparently he got the date, the guy's birth, he put all the square brackets, all the stuff that was wrong about the guy. So he wrote a 300-word essay on the author of the article. And apparently the guy, it ends with the guy dying. And he goes, well, I'm still very much alive. So, but it reads perfectly, exactly what you said earlier. It reads like the truth, but it's not the truth.
Right.
So how do we know, Jim?
Right.
Like this is, I think the antennas have to go up, and that's why people want to pause on AI, because we're just getting way too ahead of ourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about, real fakes, what I would call real fakes. They're getting to be common. There's potential for misuse is kind of scary. I mean, deep fakes freak me out. I mean, imagine Orson Welles' War of the Worlds situation. A lot of people were fooled by that. That was just a radio show because they tuned in slightly late. They didn't hear the disclaimer at the beginning, so they just turned on the radio and they saw, oh my God, the world's being attacked. Right. But with deep fakes, you can see and hear an actual world leader on TV, and there's words. It's all fake though, but it looks real. We think it's real. So the potential for disinformation is great, right? So even recently I heard just audio simulations, audio deep fakes or whatever you call them, supposedly from Taylor Swift,
Right.
disparaging her own fans for spending too much on her concert tickets, and it sounds like because they've sampled her voice,
Right.
and they've enough examples exist where she's going, all my fans, like anyone who pays $300 and is an idiot, and it's not my problem, kind of thing. That was kind of the quote. So, okay, so you're talking about.
So how do we verify that? Like you just have to have your touch points at the end of the day.
Even 5 years ago, I saw a deep fake of Obama talking. I mean, there was something off about it, but it was.
But let's say it was perfect. Then
it was pretty good.
You might go to the CTV, BBC, like the Globe. Like you want the Reuters. You want to see if if you can find 3 different sources of this. That they can verify.
Who's got time for that?
Well, if it's important, if it's a world leader saying something, you just all of a sudden have to believe that, hey, this world leader, where did I see it? I saw it on, Instagram or something. So it's like.
I say that to my wife all the time, though. It's like, okay, you just read something, consider the source. Like, where did you hear that?
Exactly.
I'm not sure. I think it was on Facebook. I don't know. Right. It just sort of seeps into your being. I mean, I'm not sitting at the kitchen breakfast table. I don't have time to check 3 sources. I'm trusting.
But if it's a world leader, Jim, you're going to.
But I'm trusting the Toronto Star.
Who's saying come to war or something like that, or please give us your.
But do you believe everything you hear on
no,
Fox News or
no, absolutely
which is
not.
In the news lately? I never have, but. And then, so if you're not trusting CNN, or some people don't trust CNN or MSNBC, who do you trust?
You trust me?
You trust you, because you're the one programming the software. Okay.
Yeah, but those debates are at a higher level and a more serious level than they've ever been. Like the local guy down, the local shopkeeper. Do you trust him? Do you trust the person you just hired not to steal from the cash register? But a trust level now it's just gone off the map with
I guess you got to
everyone
trust
living
somebody.
online.
You got to trust somebody at some point, I suppose.
I definitely.
But it just
believe in
takes that
You
once.
just have
Like,
to be
if
cautious.
it's Putin or Zelensky or Biden or whoever,
And
right?
information travels at the speed of
Well, if it's super inflammatory, right? Because it just takes that once. Like,
Yeah.
we're being
they're saying bad news travels so much faster.
well,
than
we're being bombed or whatever. What do you do? So, Elon Musk, Andrew Yang, Steve Wozniak, as you know the question that's coming, all signed a letter a few weeks ago saying that the entire AI community should or developers should take a 6-month break. Is that even realistic? I mean, I got a pen. You could sign it if you want. I mean, can we really, trust any of these people? I mean, they don't trust each other, presumably. If they sign something, there's still guys in the back room working on this stuff, right?
Right. There's still maybe some of the bigger research labs and some of the bigger companies that have a lot of people working on it. They can say, we're not going to put it into our software or into our released software. We're going to pull that back, or we're going to spend more time on with the governments at this period of time. But it doesn't stop. I mean, you don't stop the world. We're still investigating at SideFX ML. We can use, or I'll say AI for the purposes of this.
So what's
how
ML?
we can use it in our software. So and we go to customers and they say, you want to we want to do this with ML. And
Sorry, what's ML stand for?
machine learning.
Machine.
Yeah,
Okay, so
or AI.
right.
So they want to do these things, and we say, yeah, I think we can do that. One thing they want to do. So this is a concrete example that's not image, video, or maybe a little off that track, but they say we want to say a word like I want fire that in my shot, and we then will put that fire in their shot. Our software will put that fire in their shot, but it'll also give them the network that created that fire. We have a network of controls, and they can play with those controls to then further tweak it. So they want both to match this one image, but it's not an image. They need a video, or they need a computer graphic fire, and they want to play with that with the controls that would be there. So it's like, yeah, we could do that, and then we have to decide how much we want to do versus leverage some of the engines that are out there. So it's a really interesting time. But we're not stopping because someone signed a letter. But do I believe that we need to work harder on the legal, the social aspects? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just in my Instagram feed in the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing ads for you can hire, like, for your company, your corporate video, for instance, but you can hire an AI host. So you can choose male, female, younger, slightly older, the ethnicity of this person.
Yeah.
You feed them a script, and so there's a host just talking right back to you. And I think they can do Spanish, so they can do multiple language. I'm sure they'll do more eventually. But the kind of cool thing about that, so I saw it.
Yes.
It's clearly a little fake because there's some little edits in it sometimes, right? But I'm sure they'll fix that. But the cool thing is, like, 6 months, so an onboarding video at a company, right?
Right.
But maybe 6 months later, you need to make a change or amend it or add. You can just add a sentence or two, type it in, and boom, it's done. You don't need to get the actor back to reshoot it all. You don't need to crew or anything. It's just you added a sentence, it's done.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. It's not perfect.
That's the beauty, though, Jim, of computer graphics. I mean, to me, that's the coolest thing is that you the actor goes home, but you've captured his whole body. And
yeah, does he get paid once? She get paid once? Or
exactly, and you want the younger them. You've got that. You create
blonde, brunette.
You create the younger, actor, Keanu Reeves, and you've got him, and you're just doing 100 Matrixes,
right.
10 years from now, and you've still got the actor, the essence of the actor.
What was that Scorsese movie, the really long one that played on Netflix, where they de-aged
right
everyone?
Yeah.
You know, it was Pesci and De Niro. They de-aged them, and De Niro's eyes needed to be blue. And if I wasn't told that, maybe I would, but I was all I could think of. Oh my God, his eyes are blue because he's the Irishman. It's the Irishman because he's supposed to be Irish, right? Not Italian American.
We did that on purpose, by the way, right?
You did that?
Well, no. We there's like two old guys who can't remember stuff, and we actually did, but we know that the people watching this are going, the Irishman, and they're just shouting at it. But we did that just to get them like.
Well, there's
off.
time lapse. The irony in this movie, though, it went over 30 years or something. So you're, in theory, the character of De Niro or Pesci, they're in their 40s at one point.
Yeah.
But there was one scene when there's anything physical involving these actors. So they can look a little younger through the face.
Yeah.
But I think there's De Niro, it was like running to a store or chasing someone, but he's still got the 78-year-old
We can do that. We can do
legs
that
and
too.
back.
But
but they weren't. But it was a little creaky. I have to say.
I know, but because they didn't spend enough dollars. Like it's all like it gets better and better and better. You can't make a dinosaur. Then you can make a dinosaur. Now you can make two dinosaurs. Now you can make thousands. Now they can rip cities apart. You know, it's just
physically recreate the actor.
We can track and get rid of a pimple.
Of course,
and then we can do it in a still frame. We can get rid of red eye, and then you just keep on going. So yes. Eventually, you know, all the whole wardrobe and all that, but it's just it's 5 seconds. Then it's a 10-second shot. Now it's 5 shots in the movie. It just gets better and better.
At a certain point, you don't need the actor anymore, right?
No,
as
absolutely.
you say, Keanu Reeves is in the database.
They go into these places, Jim. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're like motion
capture kind of thing.
Well, it's body capture and texture capture too. So they light it so that you get like perfect flat lighting, so that you don't have any. You can get exactly the skin tone on there, every lighting situation possible, and you get the whole point cloud of the actor. But then you can change that point cloud of the actor, the surface and the color, to your liking. If you need the young actor, you create the young actor, and you don't have to then track De Niro face in every dark shot. You just have De Niro act, move the 3D thing in the lighting, and it's all computer generated with De Niro maybe doing the voice or the acting, and maybe not even the voice. At some point you give a pretty good De Niro and we just change that voice through audio. It's crazy what kind of movies we're going to make, and we can make longer and longer and longer movies. I mean, Netflix is blowing this stuff up, right? Like just the amount of footage that computer graphics can now touch.
When you say that, I think of all the animators just working in dark rooms. Like, I mean, do they see the light of day? Like a typical animator would work how many hours a day?
It really depends on the shows you're working on. They love it so much. That's really you can see I get kind of excited talking about the potential and possibilities. They love it too much. And because there's so few artists and there's so much demand, it's like, hey, we need this show. Can you do this? Can you do this? And the owners and operators of the service industries that service the few, big majors, they don't want to let anyone down. They'll never work in the town. They'll never get another shot. So they push it all, just goes downhill and pushes the poor animators.
And they're all very pale, I noticed, because they don't go out. They're not. They might be working in California, but they never see the sun, right?
Exactly.
So that's the
nor they're working in, Bulgaria or, Singapore or wherever around the world. That's another beauty that we can do more because the technology's gone around the world and we can work around the clock. I mean, not any one person, although I'm sure some people work around the clock, but the shot can be passed around the world.
It's interesting. In my world, like YouTubers, you could do a shoot like in Las Vegas, and you upload it to the internet. And you could hire an editor that's in the opposite time zone.
It's exactly the same.
So while you're sleeping, instead of editing while you're sleeping, someone somewhere else is editing. Yeah. And in theory, it's done when you wake up. So it's this 24/7 world now. Right?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's exactly what's happening now in creating these shots for these big movies. It's like, we'll go where the tax credits are. We'll go where the talent is. We'll go where it's cheaper.
Yeah. So cheap and good, right?
Yeah, cheap and good. I mean, depending on what you're doing, you can probably get with a TV show of a certain style or thing, you can probably get away with a little less quality. But if you're doing a Marvel movie, you probably want the quality, at least of the computer graphics, at the highest level.
So I don't want to alarm you, but
Uh-oh.
to the Toronto Star, they had I love these articles. They just, freak everyone out. But
That's the point.
Toronto Star reported that half of AI researchers surveyed last summer believe there is a 10% chance AI will lead to human extinction. So
How many researchers?
it's
many? Half of them, 50%.
Half of the researchers believe there is a 10% chance. So this is, again, you're the math major, not me. Half of the researchers believe 10% chance that AI will lead to human extinction. That sounds serious. Is that hyperbole? Are we all going to die because of this?
Hyperbole? No. Why?
Not hyperbole.
I can't imagine that.
This wasn't from NAB either, so this is separate from the hype at
where you get all your information.
Toronto Star.
You're scraping everything.
The New York Times. You're talking about. So I don't have, Kim. I don't have time to get three sources on this. But I trust the Toronto Star and the New York Times. So.
But see, this is where you go. And it's great you bring that up. It's like the first thing I think of is, okay, how, what, why does AI lead to extinction? Like, do they then are machines building machines and
the machines
that can
win
kill us?
and the machines win,
but they don't want. Do they also kill the elk and the deer?
So are we supposed to trust Mark Zuckerberg? Is my question, and Elon Musk and all these people with money.
AI will change society the same way having a mobile compute in your pocket changes society. But it does extinction. That's pretty extreme. It's like. That means that there's no human beings. To my definition of extinction, that means there's no human beings on Earth.
That is what that means. The machines
look it up in a dictionary. But
the machines win.
Well, the machines win is different.
Okay, are we going to end up? Did you ever see that movie Wall-E?
Yeah.
Remember, that's essentially technology ruining the Earth.
Yeah.
And all the humans are fat, right?
Well, no, but that's
there's no world left, and we're circling the world, and we're fat because we don't have to do anything. Is that the future?
Yeah. The machines win. Anyway, I don't know.
You can always say no comment.
Yeah,
and that'll be that'll be the quote that's pulled out of this. But anyway,
let me try that. No comment.
Okay. But the neat thing is, I have animation software that can. I have enough of.
We have to have clean before and after.
I have enough audio of you now that I can make you say anything I want. So that's the neat part of being the editor.
I really did say no comment for no reason.
For no reason. So it's sort of an exciting topic because I figure you'd be a good person to talk to because some people have just been around. I just met all these guys in their 30s at NAB, and they look at me and someone from they think of me as old, and I don't think of myself as old. You've been around long enough, so you see the trajectory, right? So you see what computers could do, and your 386 and your 486, and then your Intel processor, and so you see the trajectory, right? And you see where it came from, you see where we are now, and you probably get a sense of where we can go, that trajectory, sort of like the stock market, right? So there's dips and valleys, but generally it goes up. Yeah. So what's the future in your opinion with all this stuff? AI, metaverse, whatever you want to call it, because a lot of it's just marketing, mumbo jumbo, right?
It's like anything else you want to say? Oh, by the way, what's going to happen in the future?
Yes. Well, I'm trying to tell a story. So we start in the beginning, there's the middle, this is the end, right?
First of all, I just want to say the human race will not be extinct.
Okay, you're on the record for saying that. Okay.
Yes.
No one will know if you're wrong.
And if we are, it won't be because of AI. It'll be for some other climate reason or whatever. Okay. But from a technology future, I think it's all exciting, but usually tech moves a lot faster than society can adapt. So I think that's really what's the scariest thing about technology is people do have to embrace it. They do have to go to NABs. They do have to, try to keep young and learn about it so that they just aren't victims of technology, but actually like something you don't know is scary, but something kind of know something about. Show like this that hopefully educates people to go research a couple of these acronyms that we've thrown out or words. I think that's really the trick. Technology will be there, but I think society is going to continue to have a lot of problems adapting to all the changes that are still to come.
So why are you still in? You don't need to be in this anymore. Why are you? Why haven't you kind of sold and got out, or you still love it, presumably?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not your prototypical entrepreneur. I was thinking about that coming here. It's like, did you have goals, Jim, when you were little? Like, this is a goal I want to do.
Not 5 years out, that's for sure, or 10 years out.
No, you never did.
It's always no, just the next week, the next.
And I didn't either. But a lot of my friends had goals, and I just I guess I think by nature I lived in the present, and I kind of do what's cool and what I think's cool. And one of the things that drives me is just being curious. Like, how does magic works? How does a bike work? How do I build this? How does a computer work? And so it's always been just one foot in front of the other. And as the side effects I was actually happy working at this company where computers could make art. I go, this is cool. This is cool. I took architecture but it was only cool for a little while. It's like, what else is out there in this world? And that's the thing I like most about this is there's always something to be curious about and something to discover and something to learn. And as the company was growing, I remember it's like, you have to give vision to this company. What's your goal? And I said to my mentor, I said, I don't know, just have fun. Well, that's not really a vision. That's not a purpose. I guess it's a purpose, but it's not really one that a company would be the sole value of a company, just to have fun. You'd have to have a few more values thrown in there. Anyway, it's what drives me is just, I'm in a place where I've got a lot of smart people who keep me young and help me and teach me. And that's what I always love, right? If I leave that, I'm going to do something really cool, but I'm going to do it at a in slow motion because I don't have this very, very dynamic company that I sit in a very dynamic industry. So I think that's, really what keeps me going.
Is that your mantra? I saw you I read that somewhere else. Stay curious. Is that kind of your personal mantra?
Yeah. Like it was a way for like, how do kids get into this? And it's like, I say, be curious, but then I got thinking about it. It's like, well, not everyone is. So I thought, well, maybe I'm just talking to myself. I think a lot of advice people are talking to themselves because different advice for different people. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a mantra. It's like, how does this work? I've always sort of thought about that and then taken the time to figure it out. Obviously, it's directed, obviously, and it's you could be curious about a lot of things about the plants on this earth and things like that. But what I've got most curious and the things that change the fastest is technology.
Yeah. Plus, every new project that comes up, I guess it's about something potentially new or different, or not that you're writing the movies or anything, but you're exposed to them, right? Mm-hmm. So there's always some new ideas coming along, hopefully, right? So,
like we created something called Flip, which we do all sorts of tests on. It's a piece of test software, which was created in Houdini and is used for all our tests, and you see it showing up. But one thing we did do was we actually got Flip, and we created a little giveaway. So I just want to give you, Jim,
you've got a gift.
Your own little Flip,
which
is our test object out of Houdini. So
wow. Can I take it out of the plastic bag?
Yes, please do. It's a little squeegee thing. So when we go around...
There's the camera. There it is.
Yeah. Look at that.
Cool.
So I didn't bring you a Houdini t-shirt. I didn't figure you needed one of those or a Houdini ball cap. I gave you a little...
Probably don't make them in my size.
A little squeeze toy.
Oh, it makes noise?
Well, it's a worry. It's a
worry thing.
Squishy.
especially when we're faced with extinction as a
Yeah.
race.
So you can put that alongside the Jim Allan trophy there.
Yes, my Hall of Fame trophy.
Yeah.
So.
That's all I wanted.
Well, Kim, thanks for coming. You're very generous with your time. I appreciate the trip out here.
It's been so much fun.
Has
so
it
much
though?
fun.
Has it though?
Yes, it absolutely has. Some of the great conversation that we had, during how your excitement with all your equipment got me
Before.
going. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I don't expect you to do that with everyone.
You know what? I give them a bit of a dog and pony show, but when I start talking about frame rates and stuff with you, I'm not expecting people to know. I think you could relate to 24 frames a second and stuff like that. Most people, know, but a lot of people are just impressed with all the buttons on that one black magic device, that I don't touch, of course.
Well,
it's all, you know how I control it all? Software. You
Right.
never touch the actual equipment.
Yeah.
It's done on
Well,
software.
if they're impressed, just get some more things that do nothing with buttons.
Yes, exactly. Just like me. Anyway, thanks for coming by. I do appreciate it, and again, thanks for making the trip out here, which I know isn't easy. So
Thank you.